Leo Terrell warns against moral breakdown as crime surges nationwide. Fox News contributor Leo Terrell joined America's Newsroom to discuss why crime is surging nationwide and how parental involvement can reverse the dangerous trend. There are times when Denise Rucker Krepp wonders if she is the only elected Democrat in Washington, D.C., who cares that violent criminals are making the city unsafe. Krepp, an advisory neighborhood commissioner representing some 2,500 Capitol Hill residents, has been fighting for tougher prosecution of criminals for nearly a decade. She is unpaid, has no staff, and is armed with little more than a Twitter account. But as the city's Democratic leaders push for a controversial revision of the criminal code reducing sentences and giving murderers and rapists an opportunity for early release, she has tirelessly fought the measure, calling attention to the city's violent crime problem and demanding accountability from those in power. "We're in the middle of a crime surge," Krepp told Fox News in an interview. "I've had in the past year, 2 murders, multiple armed carjackings, stabbings, shootings, and now home invasion. Not good at all. And by the way, armed carjacking in front of my house. That really pissed me off." The home invasion happened Thursday, when police said 4 armed suspects broke into a residence in Krepp's ward and made off with nearly $20,000 in stolen property. The thieves allegedly presented themselves as FBI agents and forced their way in with a crowbar, the Metropolitan Police Department said. 4 armed suspects claiming to be FBI agents break into D.C. home, steal nearly $20,000 in property. The 1700 block of Bay Street Southeast in Washington, D.C. is seen in this Google Street View image. 4 armed suspects allegedly broke into a residence and stole property valued at $20,000 total. The 1700 block of Bay Street Southeast in Washington, D.C. is seen in this Google Street View image. 4 armed suspects allegedly broke into a residence and stole property valued at $20,000 total. Google Street View. Good morning, D.C. Council. The revised criminal code which you passed last month enables the burglars who bound up my residence this morning to be released early from prison, Krepp tweeted Thursday. You call the bill progress. I call it a failure. Last month, the D.C. Council voted unanimously to adopt a sweeping overhaul of the city's criminal code. Among the proposed reforms were reduced maximum sentences, the elimination of nearly all mandatory minimum sentences, and expanded rights to jury trials by those accused of misdemeanors. Criminal justice reform advocates say the bill is necessary to modernize the law, which was written in 1901, and ensure that punishments are proportionate to the crimes being committed. Many members of Congress in 1901 were former slaveholders. When we have a criminal code like that, it welcomes bias, Councilman Charles Allen said in October. We have a disproportionate, outdated hot mess of a criminal code right now. As head of the district's Judiciary and Public Safety Committee, Allen was an architect of the legislation and a driving force behind its passage. Shooting at Metro train platform leaves 3 injured after fight. Washington, D.C., February 28, Committee Chairman and Council Member, Charles Allen, D. Ward 6. As head of the district's Judiciary and Public Safety Committee, Allen was an architect of the criminal code legislation and a driving force behind its passage. Washington, D.C., February 28, Committee Chairman and Council Member, Charles Allen, D. Ward 6. As head of the district's Judiciary and Public Safety Committee, Allen was an architect of the criminal code legislation and a driving force behind its passage. Photo by Ricky Cariotti / The Washington Post via Getty Images. But opponents have sounded the alarm on provisions that would allow D.C. inmates to ask for early release 20 years into their sentence, even those accused of violent crimes like murder or sexual assault. Police Chief Robert Conti has publicly raised concerns over reduced penalties for gun crimes. And U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves' office, which is responsible for prosecuting crimes in the district, said in October that while reform was sorely needed, they still have concerns with multiple aspects of this bill and believe that some provisions, while well-intentioned, could undermine community safety and impede the administration of justice in our courts. Krepp, a former federal agency chief counsel, believes the proposed law will deprive prosecutors of the tools they need to fight crime. I really don't understand why they just seem to be so gung-ho on helping individuals who committed rape and murder and armed carjacking, stabbing, shootings, robberies, whatever, she told Fox News. It's truly puzzling to me. The bill is currently in the hands of D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, who has said she is disappointed with several provisions. Her office did not respond to a request for comment on whether she will sign the bill, veto it, or permit it to become law without her signature. Tennessee men, including suspected January 6 rioter, charged with plotting attack on FBI Knoxville office. D.C. Police Chief Robert J. Conti III, alongside Mayor Muriel Bowser, speaks during a press conference on the first day of classes at school within school in Washington, D.C. on August 29, 2022. D.C. Police Chief Robert J. Conti III, alongside Mayor Muriel Bowser, speaks during a press conference on the first day of classes at school within school in Washington, D.C. on August 29, 2022. Amanda Andrade wrote for The Washington Post via Getty Images. If the revised code makes it past the mayor's desk, it will next head to Congress, where federal lawmakers will have 60 days to review it. Within that period, Congress may enact a joint resolution disapproving the Council's act. If President Biden approves the resolution, the act will be prevented from becoming law. CREP has asked Congress to do this. On December 12, she wrote to congressional leaders pleading with them to reject the revised code, writing that it would hurt victims of violent crime. I asked the D.C. Council to amend the revised Criminal Code Act because it creates a new right for convicted rapists, the right to petition for early release. They said no, so I've asked Congress to disapprove it, she tweeted on Wednesday. Browse CREP's official ANC account and you will find hundreds of such posts condemning violent crimes and urging action from Democratic officials who run the city. Good morning D.C., she tweeted Saturday morning. We're ending the week W/464 carjackings, and U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves doesn't know how many carjacking cases his office prosecuted this year, last year, or in the past 10 years. Idaho murders. Surveillance image appears to show Kylie Goncalves and Maddie Mogan hours before slayings. Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner K. Denise Rucker Krep, left, is pictured with D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, right. Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner K. Denise Rucker Krep, left, is pictured with D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, right. K. Denise Rucker Krep. Though at times she seems like the lone tough-on-crime Democrat in a city turning against police, Krep is not desperate. She is determined. A former Coast Guard officer and Obama administration political appointee, Krep is no stranger to standing up against powerful foes. In 2011, while serving as chief counsel for the U.S. Maritime Administration, Krep requested an Inspector General, IG, investigation into a credible report of multiple sexual assaults being covered up by the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, one of 5 federal service academies. She says that instead of completing an investigation, her superiors accused her of being disloyal to the Obama administration and forced her to resign, while sexual assaults continued at the school. Now, as an itty-bitty locally elected official, Krep continues to be a fierce advocate for victims. She sued the Department of Justice for criminal prosecution data in 2016 after her neighbor was assaulted by a serial rapist, demanding to know how many rapes in her ward were prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office each year. As violent crime increased over the years, Krep submitted Freedom of Information Act requests for additional prosecution data in 2021, only to find that the U.S. Attorney did not have that data readily available. Ever persistent, when U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves briefed Advisory Neighborhood Commission 6B at a public meeting on March 8, 2022, Krep confronted him and demanded to know how many crimes his office has prosecuted. He was unable to answer, telling her that his office uses antiquated case management systems and did not have that data on demand. Florida man accused of killing relative's newborn baby in unspeakable act of child abuse. U.S. Attorney for D.C. Matthew Graves poses for a portrait in his office in Washington, D.C. on February 25, 2022. U.S. Attorney for D.C. Matthew Graves poses for a portrait in his office in Washington, D.C. on February 25, 2022. Photo by Craig Hudson for The Washington Post via Getty Images. In response, she has hammered away at the U.S. Attorney on Twitter and sent multiple letters to lawmakers requesting that Congress instruct his office to start tracking crimes prosecuted in D.C. each year, making this information available to the public. The U.S. Attorney's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. "I have found over 8 years that it's abnormal to do what I'm doing, which is being very public and expressing frustration at the situation," Krepp told Fox News. So far, D.C. leaders have mostly ignored her efforts opposing the revised criminal code. If they paid attention, and they acknowledged what I was doing, then they'd have to acknowledge that there's a crime problem, and they don't want to do that. If you don't ask the questions I'm asking, then you can say, everything's great, Krepp says. Maryland police say man wanted after allegedly throwing urine on bus driver. Ashington Metropolitan Police Chief Robert Conti III, R., joined by Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, L., and Charlie Patterson, Special Agent in Charge, SAC, of the Washington Field Division for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, speaks at a press conference on the recent shootings of homeless individuals in Washington, D.C. and New York City on March 15, 2022 in Washington, D.C. Photo by Kevin Deitch/Getty Images. D.C. officials have acknowledged that city residents feel unsafe, but they've pointed to data that shows crime has fallen in recent months. "We're at a 4% overall reduction in crime," Police Chief Robert Conti told the D.C. Council in October, comparing 2022 crime data to the year before. The Metropolitan Police Department website is regularly updated with crime statistics. Though homicides have fallen 10% in the last year to date, data shows murders are still up nearly 18% since 2019, before the pandemic. Motor vehicle theft has also increased 4% in 2022 over 2021. Total violent crime is down 7%, according to the Metropolitan Police Department. However, the D.C. Police Union has sounded off on rising crime, tweeting on December 1 that carjackings were up 16% year-to-date and robberies up 3%. "We are still short hundreds of cops and the responsible policing that used to address this has been prohibited by misguided legislation," the union said. Trespasser rescued from roof of train car at D.C.'s Union Station after suffering electrical injury. D.C. Metropolitan Police Department officers are seen at Florida Avenue and P Street, NE, on Thursday, September 22, 2022. D.C. Metropolitan Police Department officers are seen at Florida Avenue and P Street, NE, on Thursday, September 22, 2022. Tom Williams/CQ Roll Call, Inc. via Getty Images. Krepp agrees. She says that if officials want to get serious on crime, they need to prosecute criminals and lock them up. "I think for too many years people have said, oh, we're not gonna prosecute, let's look at stopping crimes before they happen. And so, that may have a role in it. But if you don't prosecute the individuals who've already committed the crimes, the folks behind them are looking and going, okay, nothing happened, I'm gonna just do that myself. There's gotta be some strong signal sent and that just hasn't happened," Krepp says. She also thinks the D.C. Council needs to increase their support for police. "They've trash-talked them," Krepp told Fox News. "We've got a D.C. police force that nobody wants to go to, the council saying everybody is awful. Well then, who joins a force when the D.C. Council says they're awful?" If her fellow Democrats are unresponsive to her pleas, Krepp says she'd welcome Republican support. "I wrote the letter to Congress because I didn't get any help in the council, and I don't want to leave office knowing that a rapist could get a new right simply because the council did what it did. I mean, I sought help. And so, if somebody is willing to help me, I don't really care what party they belong to, I just want their help to make sure that rapists stay in jail. So, if that means standing beside Republicans, happy to do it. Does that mean saying thank you to Republicans? Happy to do it. Rapists have got to stay in jail. Chris Pandolfo is a writer for Fox News Digital. Send tips to chris.pandolfo@fox.com and follow him on Twitter @chrispandolfo.